least 10 people have been killed after a series of overnight missile strikes from Iran. Rescue efforts are underway south of Tel Aviv. Israeli media reports say at least 35 people are missing. Alon Pinkas is a former Israeli diplomat and a columnist for the independent newspaper in the UK. He's joining us from Tel Aviv. Very good to have you with us again, Alon. We have talked for many months about the Israeli support for the Netanyahu attacks against Hamas in Gaza. What kind of support is there for these attacks against Iran?
Well, there's wide support, but obviously that's tenuous. That depends on the success, and until now, it is being perceived largely as a major success. But our viewers, to be specific, need to remember that the Israeli public has been massaged and brainwashed and indoctrinated into thinking for many years that Iran is an imminent existential threat. And so this sort of makes them feel good about not just the successes, but also to justify the acts, the war itself. All that said, it's also important to remember that in terms of the general public psyche, the national psyche, Rob, this is sort of a correction or a course correction or a emotional correction for a people that have been devastated, dejected, and felt humiliated, to be honest, after the October 7, 2003 attack. So now to project this power and prowess and military capabilities obviously makes people feel good. What people don't know, and I'm not criticizing any one of the 10 million Israelis, but what people still don't know and probably haven't given much thought to is the issue of whether this has a political objective, whether there is an exit strategy, whether there's an attainable political goal at the end of this.
I want to expand on that with you because, again, we have spoken for many months about the fact that when Israel started attacking Hamas in Gaza, the intention, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, was to wipe Hamas off the map and remove it completely, which Israel has failed to do. This time round, the intention is to effect a regime change in Iran and to decapitate Iran's nuclear program. Again, most analysts that we're talking to say that's almost impossible. How much of this do you think is about the conflict rather than the end results?
Oh, a lot of it is about the conflict. And you look at the similarity between the Gaza war and how it was prosecuted in the Iran war, in which we're only on the third day of, you see that both conspicuously lack a political objective, a clear, coherent political objective. Now, you said, and you're right in thinking that perhaps this is meant to affect a regime change, but you don't precipitate a regime change with F-15s or F-16s. For that, you need much more, and I doubt Israel alone can affect any regime change. For that, you need the U.S., which leads us to your second point. Taking out effectively or setting back many years Iran's nuclear program, military nuclear program, requires American involvement, which is something that Israel has been for years trying to manipulate the U.S. into doing, and in the last 3 days is trying to convince the U.S. into doing. The U.S. seems to be reticent about this at this point. So both cannot be attained through this campaign. And Israel can't do more than what Israel is doing now. If anyone in Israel thinks that by continuously bombing Tehran, Isfahan, I'm not talking about the military objectives here, but in terms of the regime change, you're going to generate a public uproar in Iran that would bring down the regime. I mean, I'm no expert on Iranian society and politics, but I find that very hard to believe. In fact, it could harden the position. It could even bring people behind the Ayatollah's regime. So I don't see that happening.
Alon, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Alon Pinkas there.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.